ready to go?
I know it sounds crazy from someone who has 200 fights to say I don't set goals. Um, Obviously I set like huge, massive goals. But I don't have like a systematic, when you talk about someone who's a goal setter, like my brother is a sports psychologist. So I know the terminology and like what he means by like setting, you know, short-term actionable goals that will lead you to the bigger goals and all of this different type of stuff. Like that stuff just makes my like head spin. I don't do the practical kind of stuff. And so Niyi's program, his 12-week program was actually really, really hard for me. It was a lot of hard work. It's not 12 weeks of like motivational talks that are going to get you like juiced and you go don't do anything. Like it's really fucking hard work. And I think that what I learned through his process and how you have to monitor so many different aspects of yourself in order to constantly be working is actually something that was reinforced by this 3-day meditation retreat that I just took, which is that for me as a person, it's really, really hard to not judge the thing that I'm looking at. So it holds me back to see areas that I need to grow in, and then I feel bad about that. Like, instead of being like, oh, awesome, I get to get even more invincible, I get to be even better by working on this thing, I feel like I've failed by having this weakness. And so going to this meditation retreat and Niyi's 12-week program, it was a similar realization that if you're going to be monitoring all these tiny things about yourself, it's not a criticism. It's not 100 tiny criticisms of yourself. It's just looking at it neutrally and being like, is this helping me or not? And you just want to go towards the things that help you. So I think actually, Sean, for someone like you, all the parts of that program that were so hard for me are going to be like awesome for you. You're going to be so good at it. Because you totally are a goal setter. You're an entrepreneur. Like you totally know what you want and to like break it down and to kind of piece it together. It's just a certain kind of mind that can like lay it out like that. I don't think that this is particularly women or only women or anything like that, but I think that there are a ton of people, and many of them are women, who don't know how to acknowledge and claim what we want. Like the first step of this program is to like not even set a goal, but just figure out what your ideal vision is. And I'm like, fuck.
Never thought of that before.
Like it was a mixed group. We had men and women, and there were a bunch of really young men, like college age men in it. And you have to write out your perfect day, like your ideal perfect day, which should be so easy to just flow. And the dudes, the like young dudes were like, I wake up next to my model wife and like totally getting your Maserati and you're like driving on the thing. And I'm like, I don't know, I guess the apartment I live in now, but like cleaner. Like, I don't fucking know. Like, it should be super easy. And it wasn't. So I think that was a huge eye opener for me. That is something that I'd actually seen before. Like there was a guy in my first camp up in Chiang Mai who was not even a fighter. Like he was just like a dude, like a total bro. And he would like imagine himself winning at Lumpini and like the crowd cheering. And there's no point at which I would say to another person, like, how dare you have that fantasy? Of course you should have that fantasy. And not only that, I should have that fantasy as a fighter. And yet I'm like, I wouldn't dare to dream of that because I feel like I don't deserve it, kind of thing. And like understanding that is like a serious mental problem, to not give yourself permission for a fucking fantasy was huge. Like that was like, all right, we've found something here. Like we need to work on this. So
did you realize that early on in the training, or was that something that kind of was
that
just
was like, Sean, that was like first day. Like
really?
He's like, come up with your perfect day. And I'm like, I don't know.
You're thinking life and everything right now. Like, oh my God, like, what am I doing?
Like picture your perfect body, but I don't think I should be too hot. Like, no, like like make it everything. Like it's crazy.
Well, what are some of the
not too hot?
Well, that's really interesting though, because like I knew that Oh yeah, once you got me on Neo and I knew that you were taking the coaching program and everything, I was excited to read just your whole experience through it, and it's been really insightful, and I'm really excited to just dive deeper into that as well. But what were some of the other breakthroughs throughout the entire 12-week coaching course, and even we'll stick with the 12-week coaching course and then move to the meditation, but during the 12 weeks, were there any like major epiphanies or things that you ended up doing that really translated into your career path and what you're trying to do with your life?
Yeah, I think that the like main tenet of what he structures things on, and I think that you get this out of his podcast, but you really get to work through it in his program, is that everything stems from beliefs, right? So your beliefs lead to your emotions, lead to your actions, lead to the results that you get. And so figuring out, one, what your beliefs are, and then two, where those come from so that you can try to alter them, was huge for me, because I don't ever think about like, why do I think those things? Like, why do I believe these things? Or what must I believe to be getting that kind of result? It's kind of this like, I think a lot of people, definitely myself included, just kind of see emotions as things that happen to you. Like you're just kind of passive to whatever
I feel like I
feeling you
almost
have.
don't agree with that. From reading your work, it seems like you're really introspective and you try to figure out why you think the way you think or why things happen the way they happen.
I do, but I don't have control of it. You know, it's like instead of like I don't know, there are certain emotions that I have like that because I don't think about where they come from, I just assume that they've been caused by something that just happened, right? But if I actually pay attention to it, it's like, holy shit, I am a bitch and frustrated at 3 p.m. every day. And that's not being caused by something that happens at the gym. That's being attributed to something that happened at the gym, but I was going to feel that way anyway. And I think that there are a lot of things that I do where like I wrote down my emotions and realized that I feel frustrated all the time. Like I'm constantly frustrated, and it's like a groove that's been worn into my emotional vocabulary. Like I just use that word all the time like a tick, and it's not actually being caused by anything. It's just your brain will find a reason kind of retroactively. And when you're not attributing it to, you know, the fact that you didn't clinch well or whatever the thing is, when you realize that it's your pattern, suddenly you have way more control over it. It's like, hey, stop getting into that pattern for no reason, rather than like, oh, I just feel this way because, you know, I wasn't strong today or something. So I think that really understanding what your patterns are and then finding real emotions to replace them rather than that you should just be positive. One of the things I really love about Niyi is he's like, you don't have to be positive all the time. Shit sucks sometimes.
I
like,
appreciate that.
You can be in a bad mood. So instead of like constantly talking yourself up and like, you know, come on, tiger, like talking to yourself in the mirror, which I can't, like, I cannot get my head around, understanding that
As you look
like,
at your tattoos, come on, work.
You are an incredible monster. Yeah, no.
Every morning.
Right. But instead understanding that like there are times that I have had incredible and very real confidence based on very real things. You can access those emotions at times that you're not just like waiting for them to happen. So I think being able to put yourself in a state of mind, and acknowledging that you put yourself in a state of mind all the time that you might not be in, allows an incredible degree of authority over who you are as a person. And I think that a lot of us kind of have this like, because feelings are natural or whatever, you're like, oh, that's just how I am. That's just how I feel kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, but you don't have to feel that way. Like feelings are not more true than the thoughts that counter them. They're all kind of imaginary. So you can pick how you want to feel or how you want to think, way more than we believe we can.
I totally agree with that. I've actually just been reading a book talking about like the separation of your emotions and your feelings, and how emotions are how your body reacts to certain events or whatever's going on, and your feelings are how you choose to react to those emotions. And like that's the thing that you mentioned. And I feel like I've been into meditation more and more recently, and because I've meditated more, I feel like I'm less reactive to my feelings and my surroundings, and I'm more responsive. I can actually like take a step back and observe it as for what it is, and then react to it accordingly. Have you? Well, you just did this meditation retreat, which I'm sure was really insightful. And I don't think, was it a silent meditation retreat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that must be super difficult. Like 3 days
Oh, the
of.
silent part was awesome. I fucking hate talking to people. So
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, when it comes to the meditation, though, I know you're doing that morning, day, and night, and that's like a big part of your entire day. So you had a lot of time to just observe your thoughts of what's been going on. First off, have you ever done a retreat like this? And secondly, what was it like this time around?
I've never done anything like that. I've actually never meditated for more than like 20 minutes, and I've never done it without like an MP3 that was guiding me through it. So not only am I not like a very practiced meditator, but this type of meditation that I did, I've never done before. It's called Vipassana, and it's particular to Theravada Buddhism. That's the kind you have in Southeast Asia. And the whole concept of it is that rather than trying to get into this like temporary tranquility state, which a lot of meditation is calming your mind and kind of getting into that trance state.